All right, John Dickinson in for Daryl, the Guru Johnson, and let's get right to it. Joining us right now, former New York Jets general manager. He's currently ESPN's NFL analyst, Mike Tannenbaum. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I want to play this for you. You said this 2 days ago on Get Up on ESPN. It has to do with Garoppolo and Deshaun Watson, and I want you to ask you about it, but take a listen.
Would you be on the phone right now with San Francisco trying to get Jimmy Garoppolo?
100%, and I'm not getting off the phone until we have a deal. And I really like Jacoby Brissett. I think he can play really good football for the Browns this year. But as Dan alluded to, Greeny, assuming Deshaun Watson misses a big part or all the season, Jimmy Garoppolo is an unbelievable addition. This is a really good football team. Jimmy Garoppolo is a winning frontline quarterback. We could debate if he's 8, 12, whatever, but he wins a lot of games when he starts, 70% in San Francisco.
Mike, it's our way of getting around to Deshaun Watson got 11-game suspension today. Does that opinion still hold as far as you're concerned?
Sure. If San Francisco is going to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, 11 games is a big part of the season. Absolutely, I would do that if I was Cleveland, for sure.
Let me just play devil's advocate real quick. If you're Cleveland, why wouldn't you say, look, the 49ers are not going to be able to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to sit tight and wait till they release him, which we anticipate they're going to do.
Every day is really important right now this time of year, getting him into the offense. Like, to give up a late pick would be worth it. It also makes sure that he doesn't get to another team that could have an interest in him.
Well, and when you look at it from the 49ers standpoint, I mean, what are you looking to get back? Is it anything at this point? And what would you be willing to pay down in terms of the contract to get, to move up in terms of maybe the compensation? And how does it work as far as conditional compensation? I mean, this would figure to have to be some kind of a conditional trade if it came down.
Yeah, when I was the GM of the Jets, we traded for Brett Favre. We have a conditional pick based on how much he played and how successful we were as a team. It could go from a third-round pick to a 2 or even a 1. So that's just something that two teams could work out a contract. Trade as a contract between two teams. So you could certainly protect the upside in terms of, like, if he plays, 70-80% of the snaps, and the Browns go to the playoffs, they get X amount. So those are things you could work out. And if I was San Francisco, I certainly wouldn't want to pay any of his salary. Candidly, I'm trying to come up with cap room to sign Nick Bosa to an extension. So I want to minimize any other dollars that go out the door.
Mike Tannenbaum joining us on 95.7 The Game, former New York Jets general manager, now works for ESPN. If it comes down to the San Francisco 49ers eventually waiving Jimmy Garoppolo, how much interest do you think he'll receive at that point?
Oh, I think he'll get a lot. Could be Seattle. I mean, even the Rams, given Stafford's elbow, maybe Carolina, although they'll probably be settled in a quarterback by then. I think there'll be a lot of interest in him. He's too good of a quarterback.
Would you not, if you're the 49ers GM, would you not want to see him on the Seahawks?
Yes, I've made that mistake before. We cut Chad Pennington, he goes to Miami, and that's something you don't want to do. So if at all possible, even if it's for a conditional pick, you probably try to get him outside your division.
Mike Tannenbaum joining us on 95.7 The Game. Let's move to a little bigger subject in terms of the San Francisco 49ers. When you look at the NFC and you realize that they're going to go with Trey Lance, he's only quarterbacked 2 NFL games, how do you assess that team's potential when the most important position is somewhat unknown?
Yeah, look, Trey Lance to me long-term is really intriguing. I think he has a chance to be outstanding. I think Peter King had it, though, this week, guys, he's thrown 389 passes since high school. So, to me, it's a little bit of an unknown. Short-term, long-term, I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think when you look at Trey Lance, do you feel like this was the right year for the 49ers to make the move to him, given the expectations that they have as far as being a Super Bowl contender? I think they think they're good enough to win and get into the playoffs with him, but are you almost, in a way, sacrificing the ceiling a little bit for this season in particular?
Yeah, that's totally fair. Again, I would have kept Jimmy Garoppolo and let them battle out, but they have a really good team, and I'm sure Trey Lance will be good long term. I think there'll just be some growing pains this year, just given his lack of experience, but very compelling long term upside.
Speaking of upside, what do you think the 49ers' upside is this year, Mike?
I think they could be in the playoff contention. You still have the Rams, the Bucks, Dallas, Green Bay, but I think they're certainly in that next tier. And again, it all depends on how quickly Trey Lance can develop and get through those growing pains. Which again, I think he'll be much better by the end of the year than he is at the beginning.
How much do you think Kyle Shanahan changes the offense, or maybe does things differently to ensure that they're winning games compared to maybe the offense we saw with Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, I think that's one of Kyle's strengths. He's had guys like Matt Ryan over the years, or McMullins, like different quarterbacks at his different spots, and he's a really smart and excellent play caller. So I think he'll make sure that he won't give Trey Lance too much to handle, and maybe there'll be less check with me early in the year, and then get up there and run the play, and over time let him have more ownership of controlling the game from the line of scrimmage.
Mike, before we let you go, and I know you got to run real quick, you obviously paid attention to the Deebo Samuel offseason, the contract, assuming it had to do with his usage and how the 49ers used him. What do you think? What happens between a team and a player when something like that comes up? Do you work with the player? How do you figure out how much you can use Deebo this year as a running back?
Yeah, you just try to be a good listener and come up with a deal that makes sense for both sides, and I'm glad that they were able to do it because he's an outstanding talent, and they can't get to where they want to go without him. So I think they came up with a real sensible solution, and he's a great player, and he'll touch the ball a lot, and that's good for him, and that's good for the 49ers.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Mike Tannenbaum, former New York Jets general manager, now works for ESPN.